Hello, and welcome to another episode of Solipsist Watched. I am your host, the Social Solipsist, and I just finished watching 2017's Logan Lucky. I finished it about 15 minutes ago, and I just started recording this because that's about how long it took to wipe the infectious grin off my face. Because if there's one thing this movie is, it is relentlessly charming. I had a really good time with this film, and even more than I expected to. So let me back up for a moment. I'm still grinning from it a little bit. If you couldn't tell, I enjoyed it a little. So why did I watch Logan Lucky? Well, the original reason for watching it, I could not tell you, because shortly after it came out, it was suggested to me. I really don't know why. And I don't know what the source was, and I don't remember, because, as is my tendency, I just put it on a list and then never got around to watching it, no matter how good it was. So, the origin, I couldn't tell you. However, yesterday, I was hanging out with some friends, and Hilary Swank came up, and I was thinking about what else she had been in recently, and looked it up. She hasn't been in a whole lot of things, but she is in this movie. So I guess that's a perfect segue to, well, do I want to? Yeah, let's talk about the cast. The cast is great. It's got some names, some people who weren't names at the time but are now, and some people who are, just have no other real credits. So it's got Channing Tatum, Adam Driver, Daniel Craig, Seth MacFarlane, Katie Holmes, Hilary Swank, Sebastian Stan. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. There's a couple of cameos and things that I think are notable as well. But anyway, great cast. Really good casting on this. It easily could have gone very badly, and frankly, I am not the biggest fan of either Adam Driver or Channing Tatum. But their performances were great. Let me leave it at that. I was even in the first few minutes of the film, I was like, I'm not sure how this is gonna go. But by not too long thereafter, I was the whole thing is just, like I said, relentlessly charming. And all the characters are well portrayed, with the exception of maybe Seth MacFarlane. He's wearing this goofy, it's comedic. It's supposed to be comedic, but he's wearing this goofy fake mustache the whole time. And I think it's intentionally bad. But it took me out of it a little bit. Anyway. So ostensibly this is a heist film, but there's a lot more going on with this film than just that. This is a film directed by Steven Soderbergh, who doesn't have a huge filmography, but is a name. Actually, probably what he's best known for in general is the Ocean's trilogy. And I mean 11, 12, and 13. I don't think he had anything to do with Ocean's 8. So I don't want to spend 60 minutes talking about Soderbergh as a director. Suffice to say, I think he does a lot of interesting things. I don't think they always work, and I think he sometimes makes compromises for broader appeal. And I sort of wish he'd just go like full auteur sometimes. But anyway, that's neither here or there. He's made quite a few films, not just the Ocean's films, that are crime, either about crime or crime adjacent, and is something he's previously discussed being really interested in as a topic for film. So this is a heist film. Now, I have mixed feelings on heist films in general. In on paper, I love heist films. I love a good heist. The problem is there's a lot of really bad heists. Um, Heist films, weirdly, I would almost say that the Ocean series killed heist films. There have been very few in the last few years. The only one that it pops to mind immediately is Baby Driver, um, that weren't kind of just really repetitious and terrible and boring, because they play to the heist tropes so hard. That was really the thing about Ocean's 11. It was a modernization of a rather old and underused genre. And I'm not going to say it's a perfect film or anything like that, but it does what it does so well, that everything that came after that couldn't help but ape it in some respect. So, including the sequels and reboot and all these other things as well. So anyway, good heist films are few and far between, especially these days. If you want to go back to like the 60s and 70s, there's quite a few good ones, notable ones. The original Italian Job, and The Sting, and there's a whole bunch in there. Anyway, I digress. This is ostensibly a heist film, but it is so much more than that. And obviously, I don't want to talk about the plot, and I also don't want to talk too much about the themes or the arc too much, because I don't want to give anything away. I think this is really a very good film and worth the watch. But I do want to talk about a few things because I think they're notable in the context of heist films as a whole, in the context of Steven Soderbergh's filmography, and in relation to me personally. So, as far as Steven Soderbergh goes, of the films of his films that I've seen, this might be my favorite. I have to double check on that, but I think it's almost assuredly my favorite. I think it is a fair sight better than any of the Ocean's films, regardless of how you feel on them. But at the same time, I couldn't possibly say that this doesn't stick to a lot of similar types of beats and structure. I mean, one director makes two heist films, even if they're written by different people, they're inevitably going to have some stylistic similarity. What's really notable about this, to me, if nothing else, is the change of setting and what a difference it makes. Because it is about a couple of people in the southeast of the United States, in I think North Carolina or South Carolina and West Virginia, and it doesn't matter. It's in that area. They cross state lines a couple of times. That's not even a spoiler. Anyway, it's about people from a different area that doesn't get a lot of view in Hollywood movies. It's about working class people, also certainly not the typical heist film cast, let alone cast of any Hollywood film. And casting people who are known enough but not so embedded in a certain persona. They haven't been typecast completely. It really allowed me to see some acting chops I didn't expect from a variety of people. I think this is also notable in relation to the first episode of this series, because Daniel Craig does a Southern accent. Well, Southern accent, big air quotes. There's lots of different Southern accents. But he does an appropriate Southern accent for the area. It's a little bit of a mix of things. It's not, but it's like he's not doing a Texas accent for, South Carolina, which, hey, man, if you've got some misplaced vowel sounds and things, and that's the only thing, I'm not gonna complain especially when you're a Brit. So that's notable for not only being a good job, but also possibly being why Rian Johnson got him for Knives Out, because knowing that he could do that he had that in his repertoire. And I haven't seen Daniel Craig in that many different things outside of the Bond series. I've seen him in a few things, but he usually plays a pretty similar character. So it's nice to see that, even in 2017, he wasn't being entirely typecast. And credit where it's due to Soderbergh and his team for also taking that chance to cast him in something different. So yeah, all the characters are just kind of wonderful. It also manages to play to some Southern stereotypes without being like mocking or without it feeling like it's talking down to, working class people or people from the South or anything like that. It's not. Yeah, it's like, I don't want to just say it's respectful, but it uses those things. It uses some of those like Southern tropes and working class tropes in ways that are meaningful and not just for jokes. It's very well done. The other thing that this does that is unusual in general, but also unusually, I'm surprised that I personally liked it, is that it's about a family dynamic, including children who, and it works really well. It's a wonderful. There's so many different family dynamics that work really well, and I want to give a special shout out to the little girl who plays daughter slash, I don't know. She couldn't be more than maybe 8 years old, and I generally don't like kids in general in the first place. I don't like seeing kids in film, especially because most of them are terrible. But she nails it, and within like minutes of the movie starting, I was just grinning because she did such a wonderful job of her part. And that is so rare. So I don't even know her name, but she did an amazing job and deserves undying credit for that. Because I'm a hard nut to crack on kids in film. So yeah, good casting, good actors, delivering good lines. It is well written and smart and knows when to be quiet and let the story tell itself rather than just chatting away or having exposition or anything like that. And I'm sure some of that was partially the script and some of that was Soderbergh. And there are some bits where, as with many Soderbergh films, I feel like he could have cut out certain scenes or tightened certain things up. And there's a few bits and pieces and jokes that might not hold up in a few years because they're a little too pop culture-y. But I can forgive them because they're not super egregious. So all in all on that front, really pleased with all of that as well. I was really pleased with this film, and despite some concerns I might have with, trying to get out from under the shadow of modern heist films, including Oceans. I was really quite pleased with this, and I would highly recommend it. Yeah, I feel like I should have something else to say, but I'm just here kind of grinning because I had such a good time with it. Anyway, thank you guys for watching another episode. I've been the Social Solipsist, and I'll see you guys next week.